Hey, everyone, this is Innovators Mindset with Lara Clickner. There we go. All right. Now, here's the deal. I'm going to tell you right now that I am speaking with Aeries Software, Lara's company that she represents, and she is incredible and former principal, works for Aeries Software now. And so you're going to see me a little bit thrown off today because my book has just come out literally 4 or 5 days ago, and Lara read it, and I wasn't ready for it, and she liked it. So I'm going to ask her a little bit about the book, but I am a little frazzled. I wasn't ready for that. So I'm so excited to kind of hear some of your thoughts, but also to join you all. And I know that one of the things that really connects with me when we're talking, getting ready for this, is I know a lot of the values that your company has, that you have, not just in your work today, but as a principal, we're really aligned and, really going beyond and really serving our communities to bring out the best in everybody, even though they have totally different needs. So I'm really excited and I'm a little thrown off, but we'll get there. So Lara, if you can just kind of introduce yourself, who you are, what you do today, how you got there, I think that's a really great place to start.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks, George. I'm looking forward to this
So
conversation
excited now.
today.
I'm so
I
excited.
am too. I've been looking forward to this. So I'm glad to be here with you
Yeah.
today. I am Vice President of Customer Experience at Aeries Software. But my career started in the K-12 world. I started as a high school counselor. Um, and did that for a number of years and progressed through a number of different positions and was also a high school principal like you. I was a principal of alternative education programs. One of the things that was core for me as a counselor and in all my roles when I was in schools is it's kind of cliche, but don't try to pound the round peg into the square
Hmm.
hole.
Yep.
Um, Make the way that works for the kid happen, for the family. Make that happen for those. So I believe strongly in that in every interaction I had with students and parents and teachers along the way. And it led me to an alternative education principal role, which was just um, thrilling for me to be able to basically work in a program where we could really individualize for every kid and make sure that we found their spark, found their connection. Um, about 11 years ago, I made the switch to work here at Aeries Software. I was very familiar with the company because it was the student information system product that my district had used. I was the actual lead in the district for our implementation of the product. So every
Hmm.
time anything new came out in the product, I was the one who decided, are we rolling it out? How are we training it? So they knew me because I called support all the time. And another piece about my counseling and my principal role is I love the master scheduling part of what we did in schools. I love building master schedules, the puzzle, figuring out all the pieces, and had to use the Aries tool to do that in my role. And one day I actually got a call from Aries of, hey, you ever thought about working for us? And
Hmm.
kind of an opportunity opened up for me there at a point that was right in my life, my family's life, to make that transition. And so I actually started as a part-time trainer here at the company, went on to become the director of training, then the director of implementation and training. And then about 4 years ago, became the first vice president of customer experience here at Aeries. And I oversee all the post-sale functions. So the support, the training, bringing on new customers, making sure our customers are happy and know
Hmm.
how to use our product. And we're guiding the product towards whatever else comes up that our customers need.
You know,
So
I got to ask you this because like
yeah,
I knew you were vice president in the company. The word you add, the term customer experience, I was like, ah, and like that kind of hit me right away because I know you just read the book, and I'll ask you about it in a
hmm,
second. But you were in charge of customer experience as a principal too, right? Like that is a kind of like
absolutely.
when you said that, I was like, that is kind of the role of a school administrator. Often is what is experience, and so like how did that work as a principal and serving a community really kind of lend to how you see your work today? Because you were doing customer experience way before. Do you know what I mean? Maybe it wasn't called
Absolutely.
that. So like what it,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, that just hit me when you said that. I was like, oh yeah, that's a perfect
I feel
title
like
for
this, I feel like maybe you in the back of your mind saw one of my newsletter articles in LinkedIn a couple months ago because it was
Oh no, I
schools
did.
have customers, we just
Yeah,
don't call them that.
yeah, yeah.
And so absolutely for, for me, my team might day in, day out deal with specific folks at the school, the registrars, the data managers, the IT staff. Those are the typical folks we interact with on a daily basis. But when I think of our customers, it's much broader than that. It's the teachers, it's the
Yeah.
students, it's the parents, because all of this flows down through that school district community or that school site community, and it touches all those. So the same thing at the school level. It's just not the student sitting in a chair that is the customer you're serving. It's their parents, it's the community, and that's what your book touches on. Is it's bigger than just those students in the classroom. It's the whole community we have to be thinking about in our roles.
And I love that you mentioned, it's your staff too. Like it's not,
Hmm.
because a lot of times it's like, hey, we will push aside our staff for community as opposed to like, really serving everybody and
Yeah,
how powerful it is. I will tell you, the best education I ever got to become a school administrator was growing up in a restaurant. It was like, it was all about customer experience, right? And learning how to
absolutely.
interact with people. And I learned so much from my parents and saw how they run that restaurant and how people really felt, appreciated in those spaces. And it wasn't just the quote unquote customers. It was the staff. It was the community. And it really led to something. So I'm going to ask you because, we were talking about the book. And again, I was not ready that you read it. So I was looking at the tagline in your background, and it said "Empower communities, smarter solutions, brighter futures," and that is like a big focus of the book. So, like, what stuck with you when you're reading this, and maybe not only in your former role as a principal, but what you do today with Aeries Software?
Well, there a lot of things stuck with me on the principles that you laid out in the
Mhm.
chapters, and resonated with me strongly. But I think one of the big things is, you mentioned in there, um, wherever possible, it should be a discussion, not a debate.
Mhm.
And so that piece really, and when my staff or myself are discussing with schools, it's that piece about really listening for understanding. And it's not just what is our product doing for you, but it's what is the greater need of the communities. Um, and so the another piece that really resonated with me is you talked a lot about reflection, and I can tell that that's a lot of kind of built in for
Yeah,
you of
yeah.
reflection and asking questions and thinking back to how did I handle that? Is there something I should have done differently? But continuing to have that reflection as a part of the relationship that we have with our school communities. And for us, it's our customer community, but it's still a school community that I see as our customer community. And continuing to have that reflection, um, always, through as a throughput of the conversations we're having and the discussions we're having and the work we are doing together. That's a really important one to me. And I really liked how that played out in the principles you laid out in the book.
And that means a lot. And you can tell one of the things that I'm always nervous about um, is that the big focus on data and here and when I say this, I'll give you some context because I know like data is like one of the driving things that you do is that a lot of times companies that look at data is like looking at kids as numbers. And when I'm
Right.
talking to you and talking about what you do at Aeries, you are really making sure there's a human connection, that it's really focused on people and like how you serve them and how are you utilizing this information to really help kids and communities and serve them too. Because once you start looking at kids as numbers, you have lost. Like to me, that is like totally antithetical to what we're trying to do in education. And so I like good for honestly good for Aeries for having you because I know that I'm sure they were doing it before, but I know that you really have that focus on individuals and humans. And one of the things that you shared with me that stuck out in your book, and I love that you mentioned this, is when you say something to me, works 90% of our kids, my first question is always, what are you doing for that 10%?
Right.
And you mentioned that specifically. And so how do you ensure that even though you're, working with data, that it is really focused on being really human centered? And I'm going to I am going to do this. You mentioned my good friend Katie Martin, who you absolutely love and adore, and so do
I
I.
do.
Katie Martin, shout
Shout
out.
out to Katie for sure.
Yeah. So she's really focused on learner centered. So how do you focus on that human learner centered approach in, through the work in Aeries?
Well, I'll be honest, it starts with what we do at work every day
Hmm.
with our staff is I want my employee experience to be relationship based as well. Um, and if that's not right,
Hmm.
then we're not going to be able to do it right at the customer level, which is then our school communities being our customers. So that's really important to me is that all of our staff feel that employee experience, that those relationships matter and they have a voice in the discussions that we are having. But from there, I think you said it well in terms of it is about the relationships. There's a lot to educating our kids. There's no doubt about it.
Yep.
We know, you know, how are we getting the curriculum to them? You talked about the reading and the writing, the basics, and what are the basic skills in the book, things like that. And to me, those are all the tools and the things that come into play, but the center is the individuals and the relationships we have with them.
Hmm.
And the tools will come and go, what textbook it
Yep.
is, what novel we read. But no matter what, whether it's AI or not AI powered, and what's on this analytics dashboard versus that analytics dashboard, it just comes back to the relationship. And I think that's why I loved what I did as a counselor and a principal is because it really came down to what is happening in that room. So I mean, data and AI and all those other
Mhm.
pieces are those tools that bring value of, hey, we see something, there's a gap here, there's a hole here, look at it,
Yep.
start asking questions about it because the data is not going to give me answers, but it's going to allow me to have a space of, okay, there's something going on here I need to ask more questions about and maybe point me in the right direction to get the right kid in the room. But then it all comes down to that relationship and that really I want that to be the center of what I do every day.
So I'm going to give you a really good example of how I know you put it at the center. And I think this is like, you don't know I know this, but it's kind of fascinating. So Lara and I were I'm talking about the book, how excited about it. And it's only been out for a little bit. And she said, I read the whole thing. I got it done tonight. And I'm going to tell you, I had no clue you had it. I had no clue you read it. And immediately made me feel super appreciated that you went out of your way to do it. And I'm going to tell you, I'm like, okay, I got to like really knock it out of the park on this key. Like when I'm with y'all, because because you want to do better for people. Like, not that I was gonna like phone it in before. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I just like now I'm like, okay, I got to be really, really good. Like this really matters to me because you immediately, and I was like, oh, she just did this to me. Your mind tricking me or something, right? And like when you did that, I was like, I just want to go. So I felt so appreciated, and it shows you how that when you put relationship at the center, people want to go above and beyond. They just want to do well because I just felt it when you did that. So I just thank you for doing that. That was like I wasn't expecting it, and I'm sure the people at Aeries feel that with you, and I know that's something that you really focus on in your company and share. So I love that because you made me feel that, and I'm so appreciative. Before I know you're in California, and I'm like obsessed with basketball and I asked if I could, ask you this question before because we talked about it a little bit before. You said your son had done some work with the Phoenix Suns, and there's a guy from Canada, Dylan Brooks. He's like really controversial, but he's like really good culture guy. So I asked you, and you said to me like, "Well, my son's not really as," and I'm not trying to get him to lose a job or anything like that. He's doing his great job there, but he also started this new thing. Can you talk about what he's doing today, kind of how he got there? Because I think it's a really interesting story, and it ties a lot to some of the work that should be happening more in education, right? That I think is happening a little bit more now, but I think it should be really something that we focus on. And I love the story. So can you just share that a little bit? What's going on?
Absolutely. I mean, I'll talk about my kids
Let's
any
go.
day, but I love this story because I think it gets back to what I believe in
Mm,
as a parent and an educator is, I don't care what
yeah.
title my kids have in their future. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of us are that way. I just want them to find a path where they can find their own passion. I want my kids to be able to ask questions and explore things in a way that's meaningful to them.
Mm,
And then that will guide, and that to serve them well through wherever life takes them from there. So yeah, my oldest, through high school, his passion was basketball. He
mhm.
wanted to be a basketball player, but he knew he was never going to, make it big because he's only 5'9", 5'10"
I'm
ish. And
still
he's like,
holding on. I'm still holding on that I'll make
yeah.
it sometime.
Um, and had all kinds of good and bad experiences with basketball, through the high school years and beyond, and didn't know what he wanted to do when he went off to college. He's at ASU in Phoenix, loves it in Phoenix, but when he left, he didn't know what he wanted to do, but he knew he wanted to be in that basketball world.
Mhm.
And so we had a lot of conversations around, well, there's this and there's that. Let's just get out there and see what's out there. So he started with a sports medicine major. He got hired at the what was then the Footprint Arena there in downtown Phoenix, and worked in the club there, and got to meet all kinds of players, name dropping all
Yeah.
over the
Yeah.
place. Then realized, I don't like all these science classes. Switched to sports business after some
Right.
time, but still in that sports world, still meeting players and name dropping after games and things like
I
that.
think I have to have him on the podcast. I'll get really excited. I'm really
It's an
excited about it.
interesting story. But this little thing happened 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago at Christmas break. He was home, and he said, "Hey, Mom, can can I use your sewing machine?" I'm like, "What?" And I do not sew.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not talented. I have a sewing machine, but I can barely use it. I'm
Right.
like, okay, sure, I can show you how to set it up. And anyway, he made something, and 3 weeks later I get a call. Hey, would you send me your sewing machine? He wanted my sewing machine in Phoenix, so I did. So fast forward, last fall, he's since created his own fashion label, and he did his first fashion show where he had to have 5 or 12 complete looks,
Hmm.
models on the runway, the whole shebang. Blessed to be able to be there, and was just astounded at what I saw. I'm like, my kid did this. My
That is
kid
so
did
cool.
this.
That's so
And
cool.
then a week later, got an email inviting him to New York Fashion Week for 2026. And yesterday changed his major from sports business to fashion.
Wow.
ASU has a partnership with FITM, and he's now a fashion major and just extended his stay at ASU for 2 years.
Wow.
Um, but he is excited, and he's, you know, yeah, like I said, you got me started. I can't
I
stop
love it.
talking about my kids once you start, but it's that whole piece of, um, you know, he was able to find that spark and then start asking questions and start having conversations and building relationships in that fashion community. And those relationships are really meaningful to him, and now it's opening up whole new worlds to him. And so, yeah, I might have got us a little off track with how deep
Oh,
I went into
you're
that story, but I'm just
no,
so
no, no,
passionate
no.
about this is what I want for kids is to be able to find that passion and then keep going with it.
Yeah, and that I this is why you and I connected so well because we first had a long conversation before we had committed to working together on this, and my emphasis, like my mantra, is how do you help students find a pathway to success that is meaningful to them? Because I think a lot of
Exactly.
times we decide for kids where they should be going or what they should be doing, what success looks like. And to hear you speak about your excitement on something that you had no clue was ever going to happen,
Yeah.
because it's not about what's happening, it's about how excited your son is,
Yes.
which is what matters, right? And I
Hmm.
just love that passion, and I think that's something that we need to really recognize. There's so many more and different and unique opportunities in our world today than there was, when we were kids, and there's so many pathways to get there. So I just, when you shared that, it really hit me, because that's what I want for my own kids, and that's what I want,
Right.
just like you. I want that for
Hmm.
every kid. And so I know that's not just an emphasis of you, but of Aeries Software, and the work that you're all doing. So this is my last question for you. Now it's going to put me on the spot. I am
Okay.
coming there to speak at the conference, and so
You are.
a lot of people
We're so
are.
excited.
I am like so excited. I am like way more excited. I'm a little bit more nervous too, but I'm really excited. But when I'm how, what would that, what would it be if I was effective in what I do? What would that look like to you? How do you know I've done what you hope that I've done when you're bringing me into that event?
Oh, I love this question. So, yes, you're coming to join us in Aries Con. It's our annual in-person conference. We're in Monterey for the first time this year, which
Right.
is one of my happy places in the world. So, I'm so excited.
Me
We've
too.
we've never been at this venue before, so I'm excited to see how this is all going to play out. But, our audience are the staff at school districts that are really working in the data, but
Mhm.
we want the data to be easy so that they can still focus on those relationships. What are they doing with to support teachers in the classroom? What are they doing to support students? And so with our keynotes, specifically at Aries Con, we don't want to be talking about data. We want to be talking about, um, you know, each and every person in that room has a role in that story of all these kids. Just like my son, he has a story through high school and ASU and beyond. And every person in that room, whether or not they're probably not a teacher. Teachers aren't the ones that come to our conference. But even though they're not the teachers in the classrooms or the principals necessarily, they all are a part of that community and those relationships in the schools
Mhm.
that are supporting these kids to get to where they are 2, 4, 10 years down the road. And we just want to take that time for them to be able to pause, think about that because we get so caught up in the hustle bustle of what we do in our job roles every day. So we want them to be able to come and join us in Monterey and pause and for us to recognize their roles as a part of that community, but also for them to leave energized of this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And maybe even this is how I can go back and do it a little bit better when I leave Aries. So success is that folks leave that
Warm
room
bath, cold shower.
energized.
Warm bath, cold shower.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
So
that
that
is.
that's what we want our keynote to be about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and as like it is, I think a lot of times when you hear like events like this, people when there's data and stuff like that, people kind of roll their eyes, but that focus on really like why are we doing what we do, and what is that impact that we want
Exactly.
to have on our kids, and what will they be talking about, and how, and this is always my belief, like every person's role that will be there,
Hmm.
their number one job is to serve kids, right? And everything else
Exactly.
serves that. So I really, you complimented me right away, and you made me feel so good. So I was like really nervous. I was really excited, but I'm like way more excited to come to this conference and to be a part of it, and to really honor the great work that you're all doing. So it is on March 10th in Monterey. Can,
Yep.
can can I ask you? Is it? It's not open though, is it? Not ever, because like if I say it's in Monterey, California, everyone's gonna want to come, right? But it's like an
Any
invite
of
thing,
our any customers of Aries
right?
are welcome
There you
to
go.
attend, and we do definitely have registration spots still open.
Love it. So just thank Lara. Thanks for having me join your event. Thanks for taking the time to dig more into my work. I was not expecting that, but really thank you for the work that you do, and you can see that I just love that what your son has done really kind of, even though you open that pathway for him, and that's what you want to do for everybody in not only your work
Exactly.
but in your company. So thanks so much for being on the podcast. Thank you everyone for listening. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks, really do. Take care.